This presentation is an action research presentation of an inquiry-based learning strategy. What is the inquiry-based learning? And it is an investigation-based instruction technique for learning. In this technique, students investigation starts at the beginning of a unit or lesson or topic and is incorporated into the entire unit, lesson, or topic. In this technique, students will ask questions at the beginning of the unit, research the questions, reflect upon possible answers to the questions, make decisions about their sources, determine problem-solving procedures, and then finally make conclusions about their questions and research. Now, what is action research? And it is a process in which a teacher thinks critically about their students to identify a question or problem that they can answer using a specific research process. And I will go through the process here in a minute. So here are the steps. First, you want to identify a problem. Second, you want to gather and interpret data. Third, you want to determine a student need and plan and deliver instruction based on this student need. 4, you want to monitor students' progress and assess. 5, you want to determine instructional implications. And 6, you want to collaborate and share your findings with your peers. So what is the topic of this action research project? A technique that is part of inquiry-based learning and student questioning. I wanted to determine what effect there would be on a unit if students were able to create their own LEQ questions, lesson essential questions, instead of the ones that the district has provided for us. So why did I choose this topic? The reason I chose this topic is because I'm always looking for a way for students to be more engaged, focused, and take ownership for what they are learning. And I thought this might affect those 3 areas. I'm going to go through step by step through the process of how I completed this project. The first thing is step 1, identify the problem. Identified my problem by answering a few journal questions provided by Wilkes. Through those questions and through those processes, I found that I was interested in students creating their own LEQ questions and determining if that would create more engagement for the students throughout the unit. Second, gather and interpret data. In this section, we are asked to look at non-traditional data. Non-traditional data is things like lesson plans or another teacher coming and observe you. It's not tests and quizzes and other hard data that we're used to looking at. In mine, I used 2 non-traditional sources, and the first one was my lesson plans from previous units, and the second was a critique from a colleague of mine. When I went through my lesson plans, what I found was that I don't do enough inquiry-based activities, and I need to put more of those in my lessons. The third step, determine a student need and plan and deliver instruction based on this need. So in a normal unit, the LEQs are provided by the district. Our district's curriculum is written in LEQs. So normally students have no say in what they think is important and what they are learning during a unit. So at the beginning of this unit, I decided to change it up and give the students an opportunity to investigate the unit and to create their own LEQ questions. They were given time to look on the internet, research volcanoes, which was the topic. They were able to look through their book. They could speak with me about volcanoes, and ultimately we came up with LEQ questions. And then I actually created the instruction around the students' questions. Some of the things that we did were things that we normally do during a unit, and some of the things were based around what the students thought they would like to do. Throughout the process, you need to monitor students' progress and assess. Throughout the process, the students were assessed in 2 informal and 2 formal assessments. The 2 informal assessments, the first one was to write or journal about the LEQs that the students created. This is something that we normally do through a unit, but our normal LEQ questions are those LEQ questions that are created by the district, the ones that the students do not have a say in. And then the second was a class question and answer session. What I did is I looked at the LEQs that the students had made, and I just came up with random questions off the top of my head. Also, through the process, allowed students to ask other students questions as well. And then the formal assessments, we had 2 of them. The first one was a poster project on volcanoes. There are 3 types of volcanoes, so I asked the students to present each of the 3 types of volcanoes. And then the last one is a unit test. I have no say in the unit test. Our district wants all the teachers to complete a formal assessment during the unit or at the end of the unit that is the same. So I'm bound by that unit test. Number 5 is to determine instructional implications. So both the formal and the informal assessments showed an increase in understanding of the students' LEQs, and the final projects showed increased understanding of the unit, which was volcanoes. The students actually gained a really good understanding of why there are 3 different types of volcanoes based on the process that produces the 3 different types of volcanoes. Our LEQs are created by the district and based on state standards. However, in the future, students need the opportunity to create the LEQs. In actuality, most of the LEQs that the students created were very similar to what the district has in terms of their LEQs. The only major difference was the fact that the students wrote these LEQs themselves. Therefore, it was put in their language. I find a lot with the LEQs that the students don't really know what the LEQ is asking because it is written in a language that is beyond the way they usually talk, the way they usually think. I also found students need to be involved in determining what they will study during a unit. Students need to gain better understanding and have more focus during a unit when they create their own LEQs. Helps them to focus. And the LEQs are worded in their own language, which helps the students understand what the LEQ is actually asking them. So in the future, my plans for doing action research. This is the second action research project that I have completed through Wilkes. The first one I completed was on vocabulary, and I've actually used the knowledge that I gained during that first project still to this day. So both projects helped me gain understanding of my students and what my students need. And as problems arise in the future, I will use the same process to help me solve these problems. Now, as you can see, there is currently no one in the room watching the presentation. I've actually going to be more use higher order technology in this presentation process. What I did 2 days ago, I sent out the PowerPoint presentation to several of my colleagues and asked them just to read over it and see if they had any questions based on what they saw in the PowerPoint presentation. And they all emailed me back, and what I came up with is 4 questions here from different teachers from the district. Now I'm not sure if you can actually read those from the camera, but I just wanted to show you that this is this is through my school email. Now what I am going to do after the project is completed, I'm going to email this video out to the teachers so that they can actually watch the presentation with the questions on it. Again, just trying to use a little bit more technology in this process. So the first teacher's question is from Leah, and she asks, how do you handle a project like this if students are not interested in and are unwilling to design their own questions and research? I thought about this question, and what I think is that the first time the students complete this activity, there may be some students that do not want to get involved in the process. Maybe they think it's too hard, or it's asking them to step outside of their comfort zone. But I believe the second time the process is done, the students will see that other students enjoyed the process, and therefore they want to be a part of the process as well. I don't foresee it being a long-term problem. Maybe, again, the first time around, but not a long-term problem. The second is from Alex, and Alex asks, how do you allow for students to introduce the topic to the class rather than the teacher? Or do you allow for students to introduce the topic to the class rather than the teacher? We blogged the questions, so the students did have the opportunity to read the questions from other students. I think this is a great idea in the fact that students are doing, they're creating the questions and they're completing research and they're going through these activities and they're gaining knowledge. So I think it's important that students do have the chance to teach to other students. In this project that I did, the students created a poster, and time willing, it would have been a good idea for students at the end, as a review, to go over their posters with other groups or other students to show what they've learned. So I think this is a good thought to keep for the future. Felicia asks, do students record their questions, or how do students record their questions? And in this case, we used a blog. I have a blog on the school website that I can use and that the students are used to using because we use it for vocabulary. So what I asked the students to do, we got out the computers, the laptops, they researched volcanoes, they looked through the books, and as they saw things they thought were interesting, as they had questions, they just blogged about it. And that's how we started the questioning process. Now, I brought them together and we went through their blog, and as we went through the blog, we then created the questions. And then Michelle asks, what types of concepts would be best suited for utilizing this method? I think any concepts will work. Speaking in terms of science, our chapters are very focused. So, this last chapter we were learning about earthquakes. The chapter before that we were learning about plate tectonics. We're doing volcanoes this chapter. Next chapter we're talking about environmental impacts. So our chapters, our units are very focused, and I think that helps students to get an overall view of the unit. I wonder about, if the topic was too broad or there were too many aspects to the topic, how easy it would be to focus in on, different aspects of the unit. For my class, I feel like it's very easy, but honestly, I think good planning, this questioning process could work for any class. Okay, thank you very much.